Corporations are people too, my friend. That is what Willard M. Romney said at the Iowa State Fair in August of 2011. And this is Power Play. Welcome back. Now, Governor Romney was derided, mocked. They are hooted at in Ames, Iowa. Or no, they don't have the state fair in Ames. It's outside of Des Moines. But he was hooted at for saying that. And now the discussion in Washington, interestingly, is big corporations have been given a year-long exemption from the mandate that is in the president's 2010 health law that compels them to either provide insurance that meets the requirements laid out by the Department of Health and Human Services or start paying fines. This was supposed to be an icky part of the law that moderate Democrats said would make it more fiscally responsible, since it would drive employers to insure more people, and for those that chose not to do it, would offset some of the cost of new insurance subsidies that are part of the president's plan. But he's not going to do that because big businesses said this is too tough. So Valerie Jarrett, who is magical, as we learned in Mark Leibovich's book, said, we're not going to do that. We're going to give our friends at the Chamber of Commerce a little love and let these guys off the hook for another year. Today, Republicans are saying, well, if it's good enough for ExxonMobil, why wouldn't it be good enough for Ma and Pa Kettle? So what about that? We'll talk about it. I think we'll talk about probably a lot of stuff, knowing these two guys. David Mercer, he is a former Deputy National Finance Director for the Democratic National Committee. He is a Democratic strategist. He is a welcome guest and great friend of this show, and eminently followable at Beltway. Jonathan Colegio, beneath his beard, is still the Director of Communications at American Crossroads. He's a former press secretary for the National Republican Congressional Committee. And Amos Snead, who was on here yesterday, had a beard too. Did you guys? Is there like a Republican thing going on? Is this like
it's summertime. You go on vacation before you know.
Is this a rally beard?
Yeah.
Is this a rally beard? You guys are like getting ready for 14. Okay, so and first I want to point out to Mock Tank, who says this about immigration. Romney would have still lost the Hispanic vote if it was flipped. It's true. And the last time we did amnesty, the Republicans lost a percentage of the Hispanic vote. And yes, I just want to clarify this. Yes, and what I'm saying here isn't that somehow Hispanics will magically become Republicans once there is this immigration, but the constant discussion, what Democrats want to do is talk about it. What Republicans want to do is not talk about it. So however Republicans can find a way to not talk about immigration behooves them. That's all I'm saying. All right, so David, I want to ask you this question. People keep talking about the president's health law as a train wreck. It's this, it's that, it's the other thing. But the part that you guys have wanted all along, the free insurance for people part of it, is coming into place on October 1st. That's coming to town. The paying for it part, the no fun part, is like, who cares, right?
I don't think it's a matter of who cares.
All right, I'm just saying. You may not have a beard, but you guys are rallying here. It's working.
Look, there's several parts of the bill. Some are in place now. Those coming on the exchanges in 2014, and the individual mandate and the employer mandate. The employer mandate, with consultations with businesses, as you had alluded to earlier, was something that they determined in consultation with businesses of those that, or employers that have 50 or more employees, to forego next year the penalty. But let's point this out: 96% coverage given by employers of 50% or more, and they're not likely to drop it. So we don't need
1% of workers.
So we don't need to create a whole bunch of worries that this has not gone into effect, or it won't be going into effect 2014, but in 2015. And the main part of this is, if you really want to talk about whether leveling the playing field, we should have the exchanges up and running, which a lot of Republican governors in the states
the free stuff.
Are not putting in place.
But everybody still gets an exchange, though. It's just run by the government.
The federal government,
right.
If the states don't do it. But why would the state governors, the Republican governors, want to deny the bulk of people that could get into those exchanges and have health care?
Because they hate that old Jonathan,
that would be my answer.
Well, now wait a minute. Now wait. I want to ask you that what in the name of Wilbur Mills is going on in this town when the President of the United States gets to say to a law that bears his name, that is his legacy provision, and say, I shall do this by the first day of 2014, but I will not, and I will instead do this a year later. So basically now are these laws just sort of suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it looks like. But to go to David's point here, I don't even know that it's possible to enforce the individual mandate if they don't have the data that would be coming from the employer mandate. So not having the employer mandate until 2015 throws the entire individual mandate into play. As for the state exchanges, even in Democratic states like Connecticut, they are struggling. They had big plans. They had a lot of big plans. So we're seeing a lot of the promises from this healthcare bill just not play out. As for universal coverage, which is kind of the thing, it's like, well, we bear through all of these costs. We have, oh yeah, we're going to have higher insurance premiums. We're going to have all these exchanges. People are going to lose their health care, and they're going to have to go into a new plan. CBO said that 10 years from now, we're still going to have 30 million uninsured people. So the question here really becomes is, can we dismantle this law piece by piece, which is what we want to do, and then be able to kind of repeal it in its entirety later on once Republicans have.
And the CBO also said that it would reduce the deficit as well.
Right. Just to point out. But why not? But why not delay the individual mandate too?
Because you're trying to get people into those healthcare exchanges,
right.
and it's available to them, and it's a very good point.
So you're talking
Chris,
about fiscal. So you're talking about an inequality of fiscal exposure. If this 1% of employees at large corporations
need more time to get their act together,
compared to how do you compel people who don't want to buy insurance, mostly young people, to buy insurance.
Correct. And in so doing, as I mentioned, the employers are not going to roll people off, despite what has been rumored to be a threat, roll people off their health care, because they want to be competitive in the marketplace and getting the best employees, so they're going to have their health care program. But it's those that don't have those options that look to the exchanges, and we want to get them into the exchanges, and if they don't choose to go in the exchanges, then there is the tax penalty that they have. So hopefully we do get those exchanges up and running in the states that
we had Steve King on
holding back on it.
We had Steve King on here earlier in the week. Now, the speaker would like to, he's a congressman from Iowa. He's a little conservative. A little bit, just a little bit. We've heard from the speaker, it's time for legislation. If the president won't delay his own individual mandate, that the Congress should pass a law. And King pointed out, he said, look, I don't want to vote for any law that does anything but rip it out root and branch. I don't want to memorialize any of this in a law. That's a divide that exists among Republicans. Is that a fair concern?
Well, it's definitely a fair concern. The issue is that without political power to repeal the whole thing, I think it's the only responsible thing that we can do is to repeal it and dismantle the thing piece by piece. And then hoping
which
that
they've been trying to do all the time.
Well, yeah, but
well, no, they were going for totality.
They were going
before.
for totality. So it's our belief that we should be dismantling the bad stuff as well as we can while we have the power to do it. And then if we elect a Republican president in 2016, then we can tear out the rest of the roots.
If I can remind everybody,
Medicare
Part D had exactly the same kind of issues in rolling it out and everything else.
Absolutely did.
And even 31% of the public was like, what's Medicare D? Now you couldn't have somebody try and repeal Medicare Part D.
Jonathan, I will give you 10 seconds of rebuttal. We're late, but I'll give you 10 seconds.
No. I was at the NRCC. I was working with House Republicans in 2006. It was that's not an apt comparison at all. They got people signed up for it. It ended up being one of the most successful new government programs.
But going in, it was troubling.
People were scared, but there was never the day.
All right. There we go. We're not going to go down the Medicare Part D loop rabbit hole. I promise we will not. But we will always be grateful for you guys making time for us today. Whatever your facial hair conditions, Mercer, I want to see you. I want to see you with a Fu Manchu next time, dangling down on the sides, guys. We thank you for being here today. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Joe Trippi. He's not bearded, I don't think. I hope not.